The conflict in Ukraine has also highlighted the crisis of displaced people globally who are seeking safe haven, now numbered at 82 million, according to the United Nations Refugee Agency. Much of the focus in the U.S. has been on immigration enforcement along the southern border. The northern frontier with Canada, while much longer, has generally seen less activity, but officials fear that could change. Sam Lazaro recently visited the frozen frontier between Minnesota and Manitoba.
It could pass for a view out an airplane window up in the clouds. In fact, it's a drive through Minnesota's far north. The terrain of Border Patrol agent Michael Johnson.
Technically, if you were to turn and straddle this, you'd be in two countries at once.
I would if I wasn't stuck in about 3 feet of snow right here.
So it's not something that's an easy, traversable path.
This Grand Forks sector covers about a fifth of the nearly 4,000-mile continental U.S. border with Canada. Substantial parts of it are thickly forested.
Take your seatbelts off while we're on the ice.
Or aquatic, like the vast Lake of the Woods that we drove on, frozen solid during winter months.
But out there, you see on the horizon, there's just like those black lines. That's all fish houses.
Fish houses dot the lake in winter. This border area draws thousands of outdoor enthusiasts year-round. Many incursions here are just people unwittingly crossing a border that's not well defined. But agents must remain alert.
Did someone intentionally come across the border? Are they trying to smuggle somebody? Are they trying to smuggle something across the border? Is it a terrorism type piece, right? So this is a vast area.
In a weird sort of way, psychologically, this would be a tempting target because it's so vast.
Absolutely.
In 2021, agents in the Grand Forks sector made 85 apprehensions compared to 217 in 2020, a drop attributed to pandemic travel restrictions. Just how many people cross undetected is hard to know, the patrol says. And it's when conditions are especially harsh, when blowing snow makes it impossible to see anything just a few feet away, that's just when human smugglers see opportunity, says Supervising Border Patrol Agent Catherine Seymour.
So they will do it at the worst times possible, thinking that we won't be out there patrolling.
Which was a plausible thing on January 19th.
Absolutely.
On the morning of January 19th, Seymour heard a fateful radio call.
One of our agents had encountered a van in an area that we knew had some potential traffic going on, that it was a nationalized U.S. citizen with 2 migrants from the country of India in the vehicle with him. We're about a half mile away from the border, and so everything kind of happened within this half mile.
They arrested the driver, Florida resident Steve Shand, and soon thereafter 5 more migrants from India walking down this road, all of them adults.
One of my agents opened up one of the backpacks, and in that backpack were clothing for a toddler, along with a diaper and some medicine obviously for a child.
That triggered a ground and air search for other migrants by U.S. and Canadian authorities.
We are now in a position to confirm the identities of the victims. They are all from the same family and are all Indian nationals.
Jagdish and Vaishali Patel, their 11-year-old daughter and 3-year-old son, died from exposure. They were separated from the group in blizzard conditions and temperatures that hovered near 30 below zero.
There's really nothing out there. There's no cell phone signal to call for help.
Scott Good is the Grand Forks patrol chief.
Smugglers do not care about human life. They only care about money. So when somebody comes up and tells you, hey, I can get you into the U.S. or wherever you're going and it's only going to cost this much, the real cost is your life. That's really what's on the line.
Few people know the Patel family's journey more than these men.
What pains me most, the 2 kids, the baby and the little 11-year-old kid, they're innocent. They don't know what is going on.
Saidu Muhammad and Razak Iyal crossed the border in the opposite direction toward Canada. The 2 Ghanaians who'd met by chance in Minnesota were worried they'd be deported after Donald Trump was elected. Late on Christmas Eve in 2016, they were dropped off near the border with neither guidance nor cold weather gear.
The snow also was beyond our waist. We have to put our bare hands in the snow and lift our feet. It took us 3 hours to get out from that field.
The two stumbled onto a highway and were able to wave down a truck.
Before we saw the truck driver, I remember I started telling Seydou, I can't feel my fingers. And he said, I can't feel my fingers. And I said, oh, you can't feel your fingers too.
But once inside the truck, they had a more pressing question.
The first thing I asked him, are we in Canada? And he said, yeah, this is Canada.
A goal achieved at a catastrophic price. With the exception of Eyal's right thumb, they lost all their fingers.
This shouldn't have happened. But because of that agreement, that's why you see us sneaking in.
Under an agreement between Canada and the U.S., anyone fleeing their country and applying for asylum must make that claim in the first country where they enter. In other words, if you land in the U.S., then go to a Canadian border post to apply for asylum, you'll be sent back to the U.S. and vice versa. But there's a big loophole. The rule does not apply to people who simply walk in, sneak in between official border checkpoints.
You are encouraging people to travel irregularly.
University of Winnipeg law professor Shauna Labman says Canada sought the 2004 pact hoping to slow the number of asylum seekers coming in, while the U.S. saw it as a way to improve border security.
That was known before this agreement came into force, that it might create incentives for human smuggling, and that it might also create a backlash against refugees because they're seen to be crossing irregularly.
Seydou Mohammed and Razak Eyal did get asylum in Canada.
My cutting device.
They've had to relearn life's most mundane tasks as they build a new life.
This is how I use.
But their ordeal, or the Patels, is not likely to deter would-be migrants for long. Many have strong diaspora ties in North America, says Teresa Cardinal Brown with the Bipartisan Policy Center.
They're listening to their family and their friends who are on Facebook or WhatsApp or, telling them, hey, I made it last month and I'm working now and my kids are in school. And they're going to want to join those family members of that community. There are more people dislocated from their place of home or birth than ever before in history.
All this, she says, helps criminal smuggling networks thrive. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Fred Sam Lazaro at the U.S.-Canadian border near War Road, Minnesota.
Such important reporting. Thank you, Fred.